Well, thanks again for coming, echoing what Ryan's just said. I'd like to take a moment to really commend the Real Festival and the mission of what they've tried to do, if we don't get another opportunity to do so tonight. I think it's incredibly timely and necessary, and it affords us a very public opportunity to make a statement that we mark something that needs to be marked, that we don't forget things that are this important just because news cycles move past them. I sincerely hope that Dan Gorman and Ryan Van Winkle, who've been generous enough to invite me to curate this hour, have done so because they know the work I've done with Maintenon has been about creating human relationships which produce poetry, and not events of poetry where people just sit next to each other. I'd like to think also what I've tried to do is emphasize in those collaborative exercises an attitude which looks outward towards the world and puts people first. And I think that often when I've done events about Europe, it's very easy to be complacent to what that means, whereas an event like this, where as an English person there is a legacy, a stain, a responsibility, it feels a little bit closer to home, and it feels a little bit more real. Perhaps it's the truth or not, but as artists or poets or people listening or reading to art and poetry, perhaps we have a moment where we can think about our own contingency and be humbled by the fact, if it wasn't for the vagaries of chance, it might have been our country which is invaded, our culture, our language, which has been taken, which has been pushed back to the interests of our world without the people's consent. And I think we have an opportunity today, and in general, to use those art forms to emphasize this is about people's lives. So I sincerely hope the people I've asked to come read in this hour reflect the defiance and the brilliance and the intensity of the contemporary British poetry scene, and are an able companion to what I'm sure will be a fantastic second half of the reading with our friends who have come over from Iraq. So there will be 8 poets reading in this hour. It'll start with George Surtees, followed by Patrick Coyle, then Caleb Claces, David Berridge, John Stone, Kirsty Irving, Nikki Melville, and finishing with Joe Dunthorne. Thanks again for coming. It's my pleasure to introduce George Surtees.